Hello, Internet. This is Ewan Spence and ESC Insight calling. Veni, Vidi, Vici, Sanremo. And now to Eurovision. Coming up in the show, surviving the musical marathon of Sanremo, Destiny does not fail Malta, and we have our first act of 2021. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. It's the ESC Insight News podcast for another week. We've got more names of performers and songs going to Rotterdam for the 2020 Eurovision Song Contest. We've got another host. We've got a whole bundle of stuff to keep you up to date with the biggest song contest in the world over the next 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to start off very briefly. We've just got a little bit of show news from Rotterdam, and then we will be into the results. Yep, just as we went into the recording for this episode, we have the news that Nikki de Jager, who's better known as Nikki Tutorials over on YouTube, has been announced as the online presenter for Eurovision 2020. She's going to be filming backstage reports with the artist. She's going to be on the red carpet. She'll be featuring in the live shows. She's got a huge YouTube channel herself on makeup tips and tutorials and a big internet name in the Netherlands. And if you've been listening to these news reports over the last couple of weeks, months, you'll realise that the show is really putting the focus on the talent that's inside the country, and quite rightly too. Those of you who just want to remember the dates, it's May the 12th and 14th for the two semi-finals and the 16th for the grand finals. The third and final batch of tickets will go on sale at the end of March. We'll give you a good bit of notice once we get the actual date and everything confirmed, so you can have another go. But even if you don't get tickets, pop along. There's going to be the Eurovision Village. There's also a chance to get in, but there's 3 rehearsals for each show, so lots of space for you to get inside that auditorium and be ahoy to experience Eurovision yourself. Now, what about the performers who will be experiencing Eurovision? Let's find out with this weekend's results. Okay, we're going to wind back slightly to the day after last week's podcast and the final edition of Israel's Search for a Star, which will be selecting the performer who will represent Israel, who are, of course, our hosts in 2019. Eden Allen has been the winner of that, and the song selection for her will be in a televised show on March the 3rd. In that final, 4 ran. Australia kicked off Super Saturday, which was basically like 8 or 9 shows, and a number of them 3 of them selecting their performer and their song in most cases for Eurovision. Australia started at delightful, sensible time in Australia at 9:30 in the morning here in Europe. It was the second national final that's taken place on the Gold Coast Exhibition Centre, and it saw Montaigne win with the song Don't Break Me. It also, curiously enough, saw Danny Eames steal all of the limelight by announcing that she's throwing her hat into the ring for 2021's selection. And now everybody's watching that instead of Montaigne for the 2020 selection. I would be a bit annoyed as well. 10 ran. Marathon of Sanremo. It's utterly enjoyable once you let it take over you. And it's really fun every year watching people on Twitter just realise that they do get it. And how to watch it, and they'll be back again next year for the full length of the show, because there was a lot going on. I mean, it started on Tuesday, finished on Sunday, although technically it was Saturday and went into the next day. I mean, what did we see this year? We saw band breakup live on stage because the night before had been terrible, so they rewrote the lyrics. We saw Lewis Capaldi talking about his love for Celtic Football Club and just bamboozling the entire Ariston Theatre. We had one fall, literally, down the staircase at the back, and following that, the next person in the staircase took her high heels off because nope, she wasn't going down. Right at the end, we had a Queen tribute act singing The Show Must Go On. I checked the clock at this one. That was at the 21 hour 40 minute mark of Sanremo. So thanks for that. And after all that, the winner of Sanremo, Deodato, winning the Campioni contest. And yes, he did accept the monumentally long and difficult challenge of a 3-hour, 30-minute long Eurovision show, which is happening in Way. His song is Fa Rumore, Make Some Noise. And the best thing is, consider him the John Lennon of the package at Sanremo, Francesco Gabbani, who's well known around these parts, put on his best Granca spacesuit. He was second, and effectively he was the Paul McCartney. And then in third place, you have Ringo Starr. Literally, the song Ringo Starr from my favourite band so far this year, Tactical Nuclear Penguin. And also in terms of TV results, a 60% share of the watching TV on the years, which I think is the second highest national final score in terms of share. It's only beaten by Sweden's Melody Festivalen, who have a 80% share when they get to the final. Right, 24 ran. Technically, 24 ran, 1 fell, 23 ran. There we go. Latvia, Supernova came to an end, as does Samantha Tina's quest to get to the Eurovision Song Contest. It's her 6th attempt. She's finally won the Latvian selection. Song was Still Breathing, written by another known name in Eurovision parts, Aminata. 9 ran. X Factor Malta has finished, so we have a winner there who will be representing the island at Eurovision, and in a surprise to everybody watching, the winner was Junior Eurovision 2015 champion Destiny. A separate internal selection of the song awaits, so we'll be hearing that in the near future. For the X Factor final, 4 ran. Semi-final 1 in Iceland. 2 direct qualifiers went through to the final from the show, Isolde and Helga and Dima. So thanks to Dima, there's at least 1 guitar track still left in the running for the Netherlands. 2 more are going to be picked in the second semi-final this coming weekend, and there's an optional wild card for the broadcaster to bring one of the songs that didn't make it to come through. So there's going to be 4 or 5 in the grand final of Songvakeppnin. 5 ran. Lithuania, second semi-final. We got our 4 qualifiers that are there, so we now have a full 8-strong roster for the final. Out of this weekend, Miande, Monique, Monica Maria, and the Backs are through to there. 8 ran. And in terms of odds on, we're probably looking at Monica Maria versus the Roop, with Monique possibly sweeping in at the very end for that in the grand final. Poland, the semi-final too, which was actually on Sunday, so you got a bit of a break before this one. Alicia Zemblinsak won the second semi-final. You remember that they're doing themes for this one, and this week's theme was Eurovision. She was the only singer that actually did an old Polish song from Eurovision, the 1994 entry to Ja. Everybody else got some delightful stuff, and somebody got some Cliff Richard. Next week's theme will be the Beatles, and presumably somebody's going to get Octopus's Garden, written by Ringo Starr, and will finish third. 7 ran. Norway saw the 5th and final semi-final in MGP. It's again carrying on the double duel there. So 1 survives, and another 1 survives, and then those 2 go head to head. We've had 5 of those qualifying through, and 5 have went direct with the broadcaster going, yeah, let's have them in the final as well, to give us a 10-strong MGP final. Coming through the double duels this week was, awkwardly, Lisa Vasilieva singing I Am Gay. It's a coming out anthem written and sung by a cis-het singer-songwriter. It's a courageous decision there, Norway. 4 ran. Sweden, second heat for Melody Festivalen, direct through the final, Anna Bergendahl and Daughter. Through to the second chance round of Andra Shansen, Paul Ray and Mendes, who's also featuring Alvaro Estrella. 7 ran. And for those of you keeping an eye on the interviews that Ben Robertson is doing back on our website, everybody he's interviewed so far has went to Andra Shansen. He's 2 for 2 at the moment. So let's see what happens next week. Finally, here the first semi-final in Ukraine. 3 acts qualifying out of this edition of Ibdir going to the final. Note it's 50-50 voting here, with audience being the tiebreaker. So we do have some concrete rules in Ukraine this year. Kruts, Goe, Jerry Heil, singing the slightly bonkers vegan song, have qualified through there. 8 ran. That's us for the results. Okay, country news. We've got a bit of this going on as well. Armenia, because we're going to go in roughly alphabetical order, have announced the 12 songs for Depi Evretesil as taking place this weekend. It's a one-shot national final on the 15th of February. We'll check your calendar later on the show. Hold on to that one. Belarus have announced their national final will not be in their TV studios this year for the first time. It's going to be at the film studio Belarus Film. They're also having a 50-50 vote, but their tiebreaker will come down to the jury. again, we've got all of those out in advance. A little note from Estonia. Broadcast ER is pairing up with Visit Estonia for the postcards that will be showing up during SD Lau. France, we already have a selection of the artist, Tom Loeb. The song reveal will be happening this Sunday, February the 16th. More details on the German selection, and it's going to be an internal selection. 2 juries have been put together by the broadcaster. One of them is 20 people who are music professionals, but who've also served on Eurovision juries in the past. And a second jury, which is made up of 100 people from the public who were asked to rank Eurovision songs so the German broadcaster could work out who actually could, sort of get a good feel of the final results and help lead them that way. Song and artist have been chosen. They're going to be announced on Thursday, the 27th of February in our Song for Rotterdam, hosted by Eurovision stalwart Barbara Schoenberger. Norway, as we've noted, the MTB final is coming up. The running order has been released, and by tradition, we'll give you the top and the bottom. Rayleigh is going to be opening, and Liza Vasilieva will be closing. Over in Romania, artists are going to be announced tomorrow as we're recording this podcast. Tuesday, the 11th of February will be the date then. Serbia, they've also announced their draws for the 2 semi-finals at Beovicia. Semi-final 1 opens with EJO and closes with Igor Simic. Semi-final 2 opens with Lift and closes with Milan Bojakovic. All songs are available online now as well. Slovenia, the artists locked in last week, as mentioned. All the songs, clips of them for sure. The 12 are up on the EMA website. Okay, what have we got on ESC Insight in another busy week? Well, Ben Robertson is still following the Melody Festival and Caravan around Sweden, so he'll be dropping in on Heat 3 with some interviews of the performers, looking at the local culture and keeping an eye on everything there as well. Those of you who are in Sweden, he's also writing for local.se, so you can pop on and see some extra content on there. And he's doing Mission Melfest podcast, which you can listen for free over on our Patreon page, patreon.com/ESC Insight. How to Love Sanremo, which I posted last week, kind of been and gone now because Sanremo was over, but we'll bookmark that for next year. And we got a couple of things in the mix at the moment. We're going to see what develops over the next day or two before we decide what's actually going to go up this week. So just keep an eye on the website, ecinsight.com. Newsletter will be back this weekend, and you can check Twitter and Facebook as we bring up some old favourites as well. In the next 7 days, calendar-wise, well, we're going to start from Thursday the 13th with the first semi-final in Estonia for SD Lau. Saturday, we've got 6 shows with 2 grand finals, so we should get the song performer from Norway and from Armenia. We also have the second semi-final Estonia, the second semi-final Iceland, the second semi-final from Ukraine, and the third semi-final from Sweden's Melody Festivalen. And when you recover from all of that, Sunday evening you've got the third semi-final in Poland. Just one other note, Saturday the 14th is Saturday coming. The tickets for the London Eurovision preview party are going to be going on sale at londoneurovision.com. It's the first wave. There will be a second chance at this one, but keep an eye on there if you're looking to buy tickets for the event. And that is Eurovision this week. I'm Ewan Spence. Thanks for listening. It's a short one. Imagine if we did this in Italian. We could make it run right up to the start of next week's podcast. No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to play the guitars. Next week, we'll see you then. ESC Insight News podcast this week was written and hosted by Ewan Spence. www.escinsight.com.